Forest Service officials tell us that the fire continues to grow, but they're hoping that this air effort will help them contain this fire eventually. We certainly had a lot of help, and we also know that court records show that he does have prior experiences with a DWI. And in terms of the 3 other people who have been injured in this incident, police were not able to give us much more information, but we do know that they are going to be surviving their injuries tonight. Members of Minnesota's Republican Party are meeting right now to discuss the rough past few days for that party and whether or not to oust Chair Jennifer Carnahan. In the same statement, they did share that their condolences and their thoughts are with the folks over at Allina Health and that they are here to help in any way possible. Jana, we're outside of the Hennepin County Government Center, and like you had mentioned, context outside of the courtroom is extremely important. And to be completely honest with you guys, we would have gone live at that road closure location, but as many of the folks who live up here know, cell service is kind of a luxury and a challenge to find in all places. So that's why we're live here tonight in Castle Danger, especially for anyone who gave money to this fundraiser. Though the status of that money is still uncertain. The chief says, yes, they have 57 officers, and he says, given the number of calls they get in a year, which is around 20,000 calls, and the sheer acreage of the campus, they're doing a pretty good job. The ultimate message that she wanted to get out there was that she knows that many people have put off going to the doctor's office for regular or annual checkups because of the pandemic. The recent surge of the Delta variant has added a lot of uncertainty in the last couple of weeks. Let's start with a quick vocabulary lesson. Incentive means a thing that motivates or encourages one to do something. And like many things, incentives can look very different. Last year, while we were in full lockdown mode, I reached out to a couple of Twin City singles to see how they are managing to find each other. That lake is where fire crews have been flying in their planes to scoop water up from that lake to fight the Greenwood fire. And they say that this is extremely crucial. We're on the shores of Sand Lake, where you can see that planes are coming down at pretty regular intervals to scoop water from the lake to fight the Greenwood fire. Forest Service officials tell us that this is a really crucial part of the operation because the fire is burning in such a remote location that attacking it from the air is the best way.
Our fire crews have been actively suppressing it with a very high amount of aircraft usage. The fire's estimated to be about 2,000 acres and continuing to grow, but with the utilization of our aircraft and our partner agencies, we're trying to limit the fire spread.
The size of the fire as of right now stands at about 2,000 acres, and the cause of the fire remains under investigation, but officials tell us that there have not been any injuries as well as property damage. For now, we'll send it back to you. What was the impetus behind your decision to share this really tough and personal thing with the world today?
You know, it's never easy when you hear a diagnosis that you have cancer, and I was so fortunate to catch it early and was able to have it removed and then have the radiation, and now I have as much chance of getting it, the doctors say, as person the average population. But none of that would have happened if I hadn't gone in.
And so it was kind of like a routine mammogram that you had put off, and then you're like, yeah, oh, I should probably go get that done.
That's exactly right. And then it showed some spots, and then from there I had a biopsy. Again, I kept thinking, it's going to be fine. You know, I got that call, and I couldn't believe it.
What was that like?
Well, I was alone in my apartment in Washington because we were voting, and I called my husband, of course, and then I had to go and vote in the Senate. And I did know that there were a number of senators who'd gone through similar things. So that was in the back of my mind, like, okay, other people have made it through. But I just kept going.
I think with tough women, we have a little bit of a thing that we put on ourselves where we're like, we kind of have to keep trucking. And that's exactly what you did. You're like, I have a lot of business to take care of, and this is not my time.
Yeah.
But that's tough. That's so hard.
And I do think going public with it now, I will be able to talk to people. You go through this experience and it just gives you a better understanding what people are going through and gives you renewed purpose for your work. I think it was my friend John McCain who said, there's nothing more liberating in life than fighting for a cause larger than yourself. And that's how this feels.
Underneath the murky surface of Keller Lake in Burnsville prowl creatures that sound like they could be from some Simpsons episode.
I knew that they could get a little bit bigger than what we see in the pet store, but it is hard to imagine that these little tiny animals can grow to that size.
10 years on the job Caleb Ashling spent as the city of Burnsville's natural resources specialist, but he hasn't seen fish well, goldfish like this before.
So far, between our 2 rounds of surveys, we've caught 28 of these very large goldfish. The largest, I believe, is about up to 15 inches in size, and many were kind of close to that range. So they're pretty significant.
Remarkable not only because of their monstrous size, but also because these guys do not belong in a lake.
We had some reports from residents who live on the lake who had seen them, and in recent years it seemed like there were increasing reports of some large groups of them. We've been doing a lot of water quality improvement projects here at the lake, and we wanted to try to protect those investments by getting a good assessment of what was going on with the goldfish that were here and being reported.
So people actually called you guys and were like, there are some weird fish in here?
Yeah, they're quite brightly orange, at least some of them, and certain times of the year when the water is a little bit clearer, you can see them relatively well.
Despite their comical size and traffic cone orange, they're not welcome here or in any body of water that's not a tank. What are some potential bad things that can happen to an ecosystem in a lake when goldfish are present?
The biggest problem is that goldfish are bottom feeders, so they like to muck around in the bottom, and that uproots a lot of the aquatic plants, which help provide a lot of habitat for other fish and animals. And in general, they just muck up all the sediments, which releases nutrients into the water, and that can drive a lot of algae blooms.
And that is the fishy takeaway from this all, is that Burnsville has now gone viral, saying compassionate release of your pet is not showing compassion to nature as a whole.
We thought the photos might be exciting for some of our local social media followers, but we were caught a little off guard about the national interest. But it's great that people are learning more about some of the dangers or harm that pets can cause if they're released into the wild, and hopefully learning that releasing goldfish or any type of pet into the natural environment can cause a lot of unintended consequences.
A race of this caliber,
we're from all different areas of the United States,
brings all the skaters to Wade Park's yard way before the sunrise.
We love to skateboard, so we like to do it, also in an endurance fashion and have a challenge.
For a challenge like the Skate Central Lakes Endurance Festival, you almost have to be crepuscular. There's no time to waste.
This is a really good turnout this year.
This is a tough challenge to go out, spend 3 days out on a trail, skating over 200 miles. It's very encouraging with one another, even though there's some guys that might be competing to try to win it. Still, everybody's very friendly, helpful. A lot of endurance tricks of the trade get passed around.
With just a little over 100 miles on the first day,
You get to enjoy it and see it all.
skaters, longboarders, and roller skaters glide through the Wabigon Trail. Small town charm, a sweet treat on their breezy path.
You're going slower than a car and slower than a bike, but you're going a little bit faster than a runner, so it's like that perfect pace to be able to kind of soak everything in.
That's exactly the way the race's creator had intended.
I came on this trail just by chance, and when I got to the end in St. Cloud, I said, I need to get all my friends out here. So I did, and I got everybody to come out and come skate it, and that was the first year.
Water?
And though the task is no casual feat, everyone's
Doing all right so far.
in a good mood.
Got a few more miles to go though.
This is the first 25 miles, and so this is where everybody's kind of working the kinks out.
An endurance strategy?
Just lie to myself constantly about like how it's just around the bend and how I'll stop very soon.
25 down.
Why would anyone do this? It's simple. It's the community, the friendships, and
The ultimate goal is to have fun.
rolling through Freeport. Sharon Yoo, KARE 11 News. A mine in the heart of the Iron Range may retire, but it never stops being valuable.
It does not have iron unit. There is a slight presence in this material, but this would never be used for processing steel.
But that doesn't matter to Mark Sutich, because Virginia slate to him
This is our biggest seller. Everybody loves this stuff.
is as good as silver.
Most of this goes for landscaping. We'll make thin veneer out of it. This is a piece of waste rock that the mining industry said, no, we're not interested in.
What if we told you, though, the best-selling rocks at Sutich's company are actually just the funding for a bigger prize? Mining for what's as good as gold, the Mary Ellen Jasper.
This is where we find our stromatolites. Indeed it is.
the lead rock collector for the Mary Ellen Jasper Stone Company.
They are everywhere.
Kelly Jo Gentilini.
It's really nice after a rain. The red that's in these, it just glows.
She knows a stromatolite when she sees one.
Mary Ellen Jasper contains 1.88 billion-year-old stromatolite fossils. It's essentially fossilized algae. Stromatolite's kind of what makes Mary Ellen unique, because not all jasper has that.
At the Mary Ellen mine that Sudich owns, Gentilini picks out her favorite red-hued rocks to bring back and tumble.
You can really see that tube
Standing on a pile.
This whole thing's my playground.
Old as time.
In my weight room, a lot of people are really shocked that we have something like that here on the Iron Range that has that much history. Most of the fossils in the area go back millions of years, where stromatolites are in the billions, almost 2 billion. And then they're also credited with creating the oxygen that we breathe today. So without these little guys, we might not be here.
Turns out a mine was a gift that never stopped giving.
There's a lot of people that would be, oh, that's just waste rock. I mean, there's no point in looking around or seeing what's out there.
Every time I cut into one, it's like, holy, look at this. It's kind of a passion.
And it's just as exciting every time.
We've been working on it for 11 years. I keep thinking that, maybe it's time to back off. And then we'll pull the rough back off that saw and I'll say, oh my God, we got to get another one.
A rock before it is polished may just be a rock, but in the right hands, the Mary Ellen Jasper has brought something even more valuable than a diamond in the rough.
Working here opened my eyes to the beauty and all of the possibilities that our little towns in this area that nobody knows of. All of those treasures that are kind of waiting beneath our feet.